You were not rejected. You were surgically dismantled. She didn't just walk away. She calmly and methodically disassembled the man you thought you were, piece by piece, until nothing was left but a hollowed-out shell of need and desperation. You're remembering it now, aren't you? Final, soul-crushing moment. It wasn't a dramatic fight. It was worse. It was the quiet, clinical indifference in her eyes as you laid your entire being at her feet. Begged. You pleaded. Offered bargains to a God that had long since stopped listening. You presented your devotion, your future, your very soul as a sacrifice, and looked at it not with anger or even pity, but with the mild boredom of someone looking at an item on a menu they have no intent. The image burned into your mind. Silence in the room, thick and suffocating, broken only by the sound of your own frantic. The way her phone lit up on the table between you, a message from someone else, a world you were no longer a part of, and she didn't even have the decency to hide it. That was the final twist of the knife. It wasn't just a no. It was a declaration that your emotional agony, your entire existence in that moment, was less compelling than a casual notification. No longer a priority. You were a nuisance to be managed before she could move on to something, or someone, more interesting. She didn't break your heart. She exposed the fact that you had handed over the power to break it long ago, and she was simply cashing in the chips. You walked away from that encounter a ghost. The world lost its color. Food lost its taste. Every song on the radio seemed to be mocking you. Every laughing couple on the street a personal insult. You replayed the scene 1,000 times, searching for a different move you could have made, a different combination of words that would have unlocked her affection. But there was none. You had already lost the war before that final battle even began. Your mistake wasn't in what you said that day. It was in the months, perhaps years, of small surrenders. Every time you canceled your plans for her. Every time you valued her opinion over your own. Every time you sought her approval like a starving dog begging for scraps. Each one was a brick you willingly removed from your own foundation, using them to build the pedestal upon which you placed her. And from that height, she looked down on you and felt nothing but contempt. The great pessimistic philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer would have diagnosed your condition instantly. He understood that the human engine is not reason, but a blind, irrational, insatiable force he called the will. A relentless striving for something, anything. Your will, which should have been focused on your own conquest and construction of self, had become pathologically fixated on her. You weren't in love with a person. You were enslaved by an idea of her. And this enslavement made you predictable, weak, and ultimately, repulsive. Schopenhauer knew that what is obtained too easily, what offers itself up without a fight, is held in low esteem. You didn't just offer yourself. You threw yourself at her feet. And in doing so, you violated the most fundamental law of power and attraction. You demonstrated that your own world ceased to exist without her in it, making you not a king to be courted, but a liability to be discarded. The nights that followed were the true abyss. Staring at your phone, a cold, dead rectangle of glass that held the power to validate or destroy you. Your thumb hovering over her name, a toxic cocktail of hope and self-loathing coursing through your veins. You typed out messages and deleted them, a pathetic digital ritual of unsent pleas. You became a detective of your own misery, analyzing her social media for clues, for any sign that she felt a fraction of your pain. But found nothing. Only pictures of her smiling, living, moving forward, while you were trapped in the amber of that final, humiliating moment. You had ceased to be the protagonist of your own life and had become a forgotten side character in hers. But what if that absolute bottom, that point of complete and utter powerlessness, wasn't an ending? What if it was a necessary execution? The death of the weak man you had allowed yourself to become, required to clear the ground for the construction of something far more formidable. What if the key to regaining absolute control wasn't to win her back, but to build an empire so vast and powerful within yourself that her memory becomes nothing more than a footnote in your own epic history? An empire she would one day peer at from a distance, with regret and awe, wondering how she could have ever let go of the man you were destined to become. Before we begin the process of forging this new man from the wreckage of the old, you must first commit to the war. This is not a journey for the faint of heart. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico now, activate all notifications, and strike the like button to signal your enlistment. And in the comments below, I want you to declare your territory. Tell us what city or country you are watching from. Let the world know where the next seat of power is being built. Your transformation begins with this first act of declaration. Let's perform the autopsy. Not of a relationship, but of your authority. What you experienced wasn't a sudden cardiac arrest. It was a slow, systemic poisoning, and you willingly administered the dose yourself day after day. You think the end came in that final, soul-crushing conversation, but you're mistaken. That wasn't the execution. It was the moment the public announcement was made. The sentence had been passed long before, in a series of quiet, unglamorous trials, where you acted as your own prosecutor and judged yourself unworthy. We must dissect this process with the cold, detached precision of a surgeon, because understanding the anatomy of your failure is the only way to ensure you never build such a flawed structure again. No one is coming to save you. The only salvation lies in understanding the precise first incision reveals the initial point of infection, emotional concession. This is the most subtle and dangerous stage, because it masquerades as compassion. It begins the moment you make her emotional state your primary responsibility. She comes home from work, tense and silent. The weak man, the man you were, immediately feels a spike of anxiety. Your internal peace becomes contingent on her mood. You approach her not as a sovereign equal, but as a supplicant. What's wrong? Is everything okay? Did I do something? These questions are not born of genuine concern for her well-being. They are a desperate plea for your own. You are asking, please regulate your emotions so that I can feel stable. You have just handed her the remote control to your nervous system. She yielded. She now understands that her internal weather dictates your reality. Schopenhauer would diagnose this as a fundamental perversion of the will. Your will, that primal driving force for your own existence and expansion, has abandoned its post. It is no longer concerned with conquering your own world, but with placating the emotional turmoil of hers. You have become her emotional janitor, rushing to clean up any spill of negative feeling, not for her sake, but so you don't have to slip and fall yourself. The powerful man, the man you are becoming, understands that her emotions are her own territory. He can be a stable, unmovable lighthouse in her storm, a point of reference, but he does not sail his own ship into the hurricane in a foolish attempt to calm the waves. He remains on his own shore, secure in his own frame, and allows her to navigate her own sea. By trying to fix her mood, you communicated one devastating truth. Your own emotional foundation is so fragile that it cannot withstand the slightest tremor from hers. This leads directly to the second stage of systemic collapse. The loss of frame control. Your frame is your reality. It is your mission, your purpose, your principles, the non-negotiable laws of your own universe. It is the gym session you have scheduled, the work project you are committed to, the time you have set aside for your own study, the fundamental belief system you operate from. The loss of this frame begins with a simple test. You have plans with your friends, a long-standing commitment. She calls, last minute. I've had a bad day, I need you. Or perhaps something more trivial. Let's just order a pizza and watch a movie instead. The man you were saw this as a choice between your plans and her happiness. You saw it as an opportunity to be the good boyfriend. So you canceled. Sent the text. Sorry guys, something came up. You sacrificed a piece of your world for a moment of peace in hers. What you perceived as a noble sacrifice, she perceived, consciously or not, as a victory. She tested the walls of your reality, and they crumbled with a single push. You taught her that her whims are more powerful than your commitments. Each time you did this, you were not compromising. You were capitulating. You were dissolving your own identity into hers. Schopenhauer observed that life is a constant battleground of competing wills. When you abandon your frame for hers, you are performing an act of unilateral surrender. You are telling her, my will is subordinate to yours. Your desires are the organizing principle of my life, not my own. This is the antithesis of attraction. A woman is not drawn to a vacuum she can fill. but to a solid, defined structure she can choose to enter. You are not offering her a kingdom to join. You are offering her an empty plot of land and asking her to please build something on it so you would have a place to live. When you apologized for having your own life, you signed your surrender. The third phase is the inevitable addiction to validation. Having outsourced your emotional stability and surrendered your personal frame, you are now an empty vessel. You require constant external input to feel any sense of worth. This is where your behavior becomes overtly needy, even if you try to disguise it. You post a photo online and check your phone every 5 minutes, not for the likes of the world, but for the single, solitary like from her. Its absence is a physical pain. Its presence is a temporary relief, a fix that only lasts until the next craving. You begin asking for reassurance. Do you still love me? Are we okay? You seemed distant today. Is something wrong? You are no longer her partner. You are her subject, constantly seeking a performance review from your queen. You are asking for permission to feel secure. This behavior is repulsive because it screams that you have no inherent, self-generated value. Your worth is a stock price that only she can set, and you are constantly begging her for a favorable market report. Schopenhauer understood that what is easily obtained is little valued. By constantly begging for her approval, you are communicating that your own approval of yourself is worthless. You are a product with no confidence in its own quality, desperately seeking a 5-star review from a single customer. The man of power understands that his value is intrinsic. It is forged in the gym, in the library, in the focused execution of his work. It is demonstrated, not requested. He does not ask if she still finds him attractive. His actions, his discipline, and his unwavering focus on his own path make the question irrelevant. The attraction is a byproduct of his self-mastery, not its goal. She tested you, and you failed, not just once, but over and over. Every time you looked to her for a reflection of a man you should have been building from the inside out. This downward spiral culminates in the fourth and final stage before total collapse: affective dependency and the breaking of silence. By now, her respect for you has evaporated. It has been replaced by a mixture of pity and contempt. She begins to pull away. The texts become less frequent, the replies shorter. There is a coolness, a distance. This is the ultimate power move: silence. Her silence is dominance, not disinterest. It is a calculated or instinctual test. She is creating a vacuum to see how you will react. The man you were could not tolerate this void. It was a sensory deprivation tank that drove you mad. Your dependency was so complete that her absence of communication felt like the removal of your oxygen supply. So you broke the silence. You sent the double text, then the triple text. Hey, just checking in. Is everything okay? You've been quiet. Did I do something to upset you? Please just talk to me. You see this as an attempt to communicate, to solve a problem. She sees it as the frantic squealing of a cornered animal. You have exposed your entire strategy, or rather, your lack of one. You have revealed that you have no inner world, no source of peace, no purpose that can sustain you without her constant input. You have confirmed her deepest suspicion, that you are nothing without her. This is the moment you hand over the sword and kneel. Schopenhauer's philosophy is built on the idea of the will as a blind, striving force. A man who has mastered himself has a will that strives for his own purpose. When he is met with the silence of another, his will continues its forward march. But the man who has made another person his purpose has a will that, when met with silence, has nowhere to go. It turns on itself, creating a vortex of anxiety, desperation, and self-loathing. You didn't just break the silence, you proved you were defined by it. Perhaps you're listening to this and thinking, this is too harsh. I was just being a loving, attentive partner. Isn't communication key? This is the rationalization of the defeated. Let's dismantle that objection with brutal logic. Communication is an exchange of information and perspective between two sovereign powers. What you were engaged in was not communication. It was interrogation born of insecurity. You weren't seeking to understand her world. You were seeking reassurance for your own. Another objection. So I'm supposed to be a cold, unfeeling machine, an emotionless jerk? This is the false dichotomy presented by a society that conflates emotional control with emotional absence. The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is for your emotions to be subject to your command, not the other way around. A warrior on the battlefield feels fear, but his training and discipline allow him to act in spite of it. A panicked civilian is consumed by it. You were the panicked civilian in the war of emotional dynamics. The fall was not visible. It didn't happen in a loud argument. It happened in the silence of your own mind as you chose her comfort over your integrity. It happened in the slight hesitation before you agreed to something you didn't want to do. It happened in the yes you said out of fear, not desire. It happened every time you chose the temporary peace of her approval over the permanent strength of your own self-respect. The evidence of your surrender is all around you, and now you can finally see it for what it is. The path to rebuilding is long, and it begins with this cold, unflinching diagnosis. You must understand the sickness before you can administer the cure. Think back, right now, to the last time you felt that familiar sinking feeling in your gut, the anxiety that she was pulling away or losing interest. What specific concession did you make right before that feeling began? What piece of your frame did you sacrifice? Be honest with yourself. If you are serious about forging a new reality, then declare your commitment. Like this video, as a salute to the man you are leaving behind, subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications to ensure you receive every tool and weapon for the war ahead. And in the comments, answer that question. Name the concession. Write it down. Expose the weakness to the light. This is the first step in reclaiming your power. The man you were is dead. Today, we begin to build his replacement. There is no going back for the weak man. There is only the construction of the new one. Let this be burned into your mind as the first commandment of your resurrection. The man who begged, who pleaded, who disintegrated under the weight of her indifference, is dead. Do not mourn him. Do not seek to revive him. His corpse is a monument to a failed strategy, and you will now grind that monument to dust and use it as the foundation for an impenetrable fortress. This process is not emotional. It is not about healing or finding closure. Those are the sanitized terms of a therapy culture that breeds compliance. This is a tactical operation, a cold, calculated demolition and reconstruction of the self. Your orders are simple, your mission absolute. First, you will cut the excess. Second, you will install silence. Third, you will control the reaction. This is the trinity of your rebirth. Cutting the excess is the most brutal phase, and therefore the most critical. You must perform a surgical excision of her from your life. This is not a gentle fading away. It is an amputation without anesthetic. Delete the number. Block the profile on every conceivable platform. Erase the photographs. Remove every physical object from your environment that serves as a link to that past reality. Every sentimental trinket, every saved text message, is a traitorous agent embedded in your command center, ready to broadcast signals of weakness back to your enemy, and, more importantly, to yourself. You believe you are holding on to memories. You are, in fact, clinging to the instruments of your own torture. You are volunteering to remain in the prison cell after the door has been left open. Schopenhauer understood that the will is a blind, striving force, and that suffering arises when this will is frustrated. Your will was fixated on her, and its frustration is the source of your agony. By keeping these digital and physical ghosts, you are deliberately pointing your own will at a wall it can never break through, ensuring a state of perpetual torment. The act of deletion is not about forgetting her. It is about reclaiming the psychic energy you have been hemorrhaging. It is a declaration of war on your own sentimentality. Each deleted photo is a bullet fired at the ghost of your former self. Each blocked account is a fortification built around your new empire. You are not erasing a person. You are eliminating a vulnerability. This is not done out of anger or spite. It is done with the cold, detached precision of a general who knows that a compromised supply line will lead to the loss of the entire war. Next, you will install silence. This is your primary weapon. The weak man believes he must speak to be heard, that he must act to be seen. He fills the void with desperate pleas and pathetic check-ins, proving only that the silence of another controls him. The powerful man understands that true dominance is wielded not through words, but through their deliberate absence. Your silence must be absolute. It is not a tactic to get her back. It is the construction of a new reality where her validation is no longer the currency. When you go dark, you are not hiding. You are recalibrating the entire power dynamic. She has been conditioned to expect your input, your reactions, your predictable orbit around her. Your sudden and total absence from her universe is a profound psychological disruption. It is a pattern interrupt of the highest order. She will expect you to break. She will wait for the late-night text, the emotional outburst, the inevitable crack in your resolve. Your silence denies her this satisfaction. It is an unbound defiance. It communicates, more powerfully than any words ever could, that your world not only continues to exist without her, but that it may, in fact, be thriving. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared. But a man who can impose his absence will be obsessed over. Your silence creates a vacuum, and her mind, conditioned by your previous neediness, will rush to fill it with questions. What is he doing? Who is he with? Why doesn't he care anymore? You have seized control of her internal monologue without saying a single word. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. This silence is not a passive waiting game. It is the cover for the most intense period of strategic advancement in your life. While the airwaves are dark, you are rebuilding your entire arsenal. Your focus must be absolute, channeled into 4 pillars of hierarchical dominance: the physical, the financial, the social, and the symbolic. You will go to the gym not to get a revenge body, but to forge a physical presence that commands respect before you even speak. You are not exercising, you are building armor. You will attack your work, your business, your career with a singular, predatory focus. Your goal is not just income, it is financial sovereignty. Money is a tool of power, granting you freedom, options, and the ability to move through the world on your own terms. You will aggressively expand your social circle, not as a replacement for her, but as a demonstration that your value is recognized by many, not contingent on one. You will become a man of networks, alliances, and high-status connections. And finally, you will pursue symbolic power. You will learn a new skill, a language, a musical instrument, a martial art. You will read the great works of philosophy, strategy, and history. You will become a man of substance and hidden depths. This is the work. This is what you do in the silence. You are not waiting for her to come back. You are building an empire so vast and compelling that her eventual inevitable return will be nothing more than a minor diplomatic inquiry from a foreign state you no longer have any strategic interest in. When the signal finally comes, and it will, your reaction is the final test. She will send a casual, low-investment text. "Hey, just thinking of you." Or, "How have you been?" This is a probe, a reconnaissance mission to see if the old, weak man is still in charge. The man you were would have leaped at this, his heart pounding, seeing it as the opening he had been praying for. The man you are becoming will see it for what it is, a test of your frame. Your response must be an exercise in controlled indifference. You may not respond at all for a day, or 2, or not at all. Not responding is a position of ultimate power. It states that her attempt to engage is not a priority. If you do choose to respond, your interaction must be minimal and unpredictable. A 1 or 2 word answer. Good. Fine. No questions about her. No emotion. Your communication must be a sterile, transactional exchange that gives her nothing to latch onto. You are a brick wall where there was once a welcome mat. Be an absence that carries weight, not a presence that begs. This cool, detached calm is more unsettling to her than any angry outburst. It communicates the one thing she is not prepared for. You are indifferent. You have moved on to a higher plane of existence, and she is a distant memory from a life you no longer lead. Schopenhauer wrote that, "We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack." By making yourself completely unattainable, by demonstrating that you lack nothing she can provide, you become the object of her will's obsession. The power dynamic has not just been flipped, It has been annihilated and rebuilt with you as its sole architect. This is not a game. This is the reprogramming of your entire operating system. It requires a level of discipline and emotional coldness that few men are capable of. But the reward is not her return. That is merely a potential byproduct. The reward is the forging of a man who is psychologically unbreakable, a man whose sense of self is generated internally, not begged for externally, a man whose silence speaks louder than another's screams. This is your path. It is arduous, it is lonely, and it is the only way out. Commit to this war against your weakness. Show your allegiance to this new philosophy by liking this video and subscribing to Dominio Psicologico right now. Activate all notifications, because every piece of intelligence we provide is crucial for your campaign. Now, for your first strategic simulation, when she finally sends that probe text, that, "Hey, how are you?" what is the single, most powerful, frame-holding response you can give that closes the conversation and reasserts your dominance? Don't explain it. Just write the exact response in the comments below. Let us see the weapons you are forging. And so, the moment arrives. Not with a storm, but with a quiet notification on your screen. Her name. A name that once had the power to stop your heart, now just a series of pixels. The message is exactly what you predicted. A low-investment probe, a casual, "Hey, thinking of you," sent out into the void to see if the echo of the weak man still answers. And in that moment, the entire war is won or lost. The man you were would have felt a surge of adrenaline, a toxic cocktail of hope and dread. His thumbs would tremble, drafting a dozen replies, eager, angry, witty, all of them betraying his desperation. He would have seen it as a chance. But you are not him. You look at the message, and you feel nothing. It is not the satisfying burn of hatred, nor the dull ache of nostalgia. It is the profound, expansive, and silent peace of indifference. It is the feeling a mountain has when a single raindrop lands on its surface. An event so insignificant it doesn't even register. You don't reply, not for an hour, not for a day. The game she is playing is checkers, and you have been studying the grand strategies of chess. Her move is so elementary, so predictable, that to even acknowledge it is beneath you. She is testing the lock on a door you have long since bricked over. Days later, perhaps, when you are waiting for a file to download or for a set at the gym to begin, you might remember the message, and you might choose to reply. Not with a question, not with an opening. You send a single word, a tombstone for the conversation before it can even begin. Okay. Better yet, you don't reply at all. You leave her message on. You let her see that you saw her attempt to enter your world, and you consciously, deliberately, and silently denied her entry. This is the ultimate statement of power. It is not a negotiation. It is a verdict. You have judged her communication to be irrelevant, and you have executed the sentence with silence. Her attempt to reclaim a piece of your attention has failed so completely that you did not even dignify it with the effort of a rejection. This is the nature of true emotional vengeance. It is not a fiery confrontation. It is a cold and silent extinction. You have not just won the game, you have demonstrated that you are no longer a player. You did not flip the board in anger. You simply stood up from the table, having realized you had far more important empires to build than the petty kingdom of her validation. She wanted a reaction, any reaction, to confirm she still held a space in your mind. By giving her nothing, you communicated the most devastating truth of all. That space no longer exists. It has been reclaimed, redeveloped, and is now the site of the skyscraper that is your new self. She is standing on the street below, looking up at a structure she cannot comprehend, wondering how it was built on the very ground where she thought she had left nothing but a ruin. The respect you once begged for is now something she can't even apply for. Respect is not requested. It is a tax imposed by your own gravity. Your absence, your silence, your unwavering focus on your own mission. This is the force that imposes that tax. You must understand this with absolute clarity. The goal was never to win her back. That would be a regression. It would be like a king, having built an empire, choosing to return to the mud hut of his youth. The entire purpose of this transformation was to forge a man who, by his very nature, is of a quality and on a trajectory that she can no longer match. The man she rejected is a ghost you no longer entertain. And the man you have forged in the fire of your own discipline would never, under any circumstance, choose her. Her chapter is not just over. The book it was written in has been burned, its ashes scattered to the wind. You did not lose her. You outgrew her. You did not heal from the wound she inflicted. You used the scar tissue to build new muscle. She was not the love of your life. She was the catalyst, the necessary poison that forced your system to develop an unbreakable immunity to weakness. This is the final law of your new dominion. You are the sole architect of your reality, the absolute monarch of your mind. Your peace is your fortress, your purpose is your sword, and your silence is your throne. From this day forward, you operate not from a place of hope or fear, but from a position of cold, strategic power. The war is over, not because you defeated her, but because you defeated the man you used to be. If you have truly understood this transmission, then formalize your ascension. Strike the like button as a salute to this new creed. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications, because this is no longer a channel. It is your new command center. Now, as you stand on the precipice of this new reality, answer this one final question in the comments below. Declare it for yourself and for all the other men building their empires alongside you. What is the one core principle of your new life that is absolutely, under any circumstance, non-negotiable?